people have mysteriously vanished in America's wilderness. Join us as we dive into the deep end of the unexplainable and try to piece together what happened. You are listening to Locations Unknown.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Locations Unknown. I am your co-host, Joe Irado, and with me, as always, is a guy who always eats his Ovaltine, Mike Van de Bogart.
Oh, thank you, Joe, and thank you to all our loyal listeners. We are back after a little mini break over the holidays.
It felt like months.
Yeah,
Was it only like a month?
I think our last episode was December 16th. I should know when it was.
So a little less than a month, but almost a month.
Yeah, but I think we actually recorded that one like a week or two early.
Oh, that's why it feels like us?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but we're back. After this, we're recording a fun Patreon or supporter episode with a bunch of voicemails that we've received over the last 6-7 months.
Yeah, I love that fan tweet.
Yeah.
It's like a skeleton. It's like waiting for another episode of Location Unknown. It's like, hey, lucky you, we're doing it tonight.
Yeah, good tweet timing.
Yes.
Just before we get going, just a couple announcements. First, we'd like to give a shout out to all of the new Patreon members. So we've got Cambria, Emily Carey, Athena Van, Overshelled, Paul Garcia Jr., Peter Smith, Jordine Lucas, and Angie Baldwin. So thank you so much for supporting the show.
Thank you very much.
We've got a lot of exciting things we'd like to do in 2023. We'll see if the stars align for some of this stuff to happen.
I think so, with our growth continuing to grow.
Yeah, the growth.
Grow.
now
now it's going to decline. This episode's going to release. It's going boo.
As we always say every episode, if you like us, hate us, have suggestions, whatever it is, give us a call at 208-391-6913. Leave a voicemail, and you'll end up on an episode if it's funny or mean enough.
Yeah.
You can also...
We also put people who just say nice things.
Yeah.
Yeah, just nice
That's
compliments.
the majority.
We like those, too.
And funny ones. We've gotten some really funny ones. Also, you can help support the show through many different means. You can go to Patreon, YouTube memberships. We have a premium subscription on Apple. We also have a store with lots of swag. So check any of those areas out if you want to help us monetarily. If you just got done with Christmas, you spent all your money on gifts, you can still help us out for free by telling all of your family and friends about Locations Unknown.
Yep.
Just get annoying. So
follow us on all the socials.
Be like
a
Bitcoin bro, but for Locations Unknown.
Yeah.
Anyone who knows someone into crypto will get that.
Yeah.
So, finally, a couple announcements. We had an AI art contest a couple weeks ago, and I haven't mailed out the swag yet, but that stuff will be going out this month. I also want to apologize. We actually get quite a few emails and messages across the different platforms, and I've been very slow to respond to all of it, primarily because of the holidays. But if you've emailed us or messaged us and haven't gotten a response, just hang in there. I'll eventually get to all those. Just as Joe and I predicted, we had some controversy with Mount San Jacinto. That's how it's...
Because we keep saying Jacinto?
Jacinto. So
that's Google's fault.
A gentleman on Instagram messaged us.
Was he mean about it, or was he nice about it?
No, he was cool. He started off about loving the podcast, so that's a good way to start off.
MT San Jacinto.
See, even in Portuguese they say Jacinto. Let me go back to English and see what they say. I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm just saying I have a good reason why we're wrong.
I mean, maybe
Mount San Jacinto.
Yeah, so I mean, we followed Google and we're obviously wrong. We've had many locals message us. It's this guy on Instagram even spelled it out, ha-scene-toe.
So S-E-E-N?
Yeah.
Scene?
Jacinto. So,
all right. Probably will still screw it up.
If that's wrong, message us again and tell us how we're wrong there. But
he was nice. I trust that guy.
Yeah. So that's the end of my announcements.
All right, everybody, let's gear up and get out to explore locations unknown. June 23rd, 2021. A geologist was on a job site with another coworker in the Sonoran Desert. His coworker said that during work, he simply looked up into the distance, got into his car, and drove off. Join us this week as we investigate the strange disappearance of Daniel Robinson. So, Mike, before I get into the location, we actually have new news you brought to light that's 2 days old, a day old.
That's very recent.
Kind of related.
Yeah, so actually, skeletal remains have been found in the Sonoran Desert. One place I read about 12 miles from where he initially went missing. So there's a lot of speculation swirling around that these may belong to Daniel, but his father has already come out and said that it's not Daniel, because we'll get into some of the details, but some of the items found with the skeleton doesn't make sense with the stuff that was found in this case. So there hasn't been any DNA analysis yet, so we don't know.
Okay.
It could turn out to be Daniel Robinson, but I just figured right away before we start the episode, we'll make note of that because it just happened.
Yeah, and anyone that's listening that did hear about it will just be wriggling in their chair like, are they going to mention it?
Yeah. So, all right. So get on with it, Joe.
Okay. So we're in the Sonoran Desert. Sublocation. It's near the intersection of Sun Valley Parkway and Cactus Road. When Mike takes over, you'll see on the screen, I'll be going through some pictures and stuff. It is in Arizona, but the Sonoran Desert spans approximately 100,000 square miles in the southwestern Arizona, southwestern California, most of Baja California, and the western half of the state of Sonora, Mexico.
Southeastern California.
Sorry.
Yeah, my bad.
Yeah, so it's roughly the same size as South Korea and Iceland.
Not together. Just I gave it two
independently.
Yeah.
So there you go. It's like this if you're watching. It's big.
And
it's
the Baja, you're missing that.
Oh, yeah, I'm not even all the way over. So, yeah, a lot of sand. But
actually, there's tundra in the Sonoran Desert.
Ooh.
And tropical biomes.
All right.
Well, Joe will get into that.
When was it established, Mike? Around 8 million years ago in the late Miocene period. So it's home to 17 different Native American tribes. Home to major cities, including Phoenix, which is a metro population of 4.7 million, Tucson with 1 million, Mexicali, Baja California, 1 million, and Hermosillo, Sonora, I'm going to get yelled at for that one, 900,000. I'm throwing that in the...
So a lot of people live in the Sonoran Desert.
Hermosillo. Is that... What do you think it is before I...
That sounds good to me.
Hermosillo. Silo. God,
you know Google's not right,
Sonora.
Hermosillo, Sonora.
Hermosillo.
I'm not even going to try that again. I'm going to...
Yeah, you have a problem with the L's. They're silent.
I do. Some interesting facts about the Sonoran Desert. It's home to the only jaguar population in the United States. I would not have guessed that.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
I just don't assume there'd be any cat species in the desert. I just don't know why.
But because it's such a huge area and there's a lot of different biomes, it does kind of make sense.
Yeah,
So
just shows how little I know about the Sonoran Desert. It's world famous for its numerous types of cacti that grow in it, especially the famous saguaro cactus, which only grows there. This tree-like cactus can grow up to 12 meters or 40 feet tall. That is actually really cool.
yeah.
I didn't know that at all. Cacti aren't the only plants that grow in this part of the world, as the Sonoran Desert is home to over 2,000 different types of plants based on the landscape and climate of the desert. This is the highest number of plants growing in any desert in the world and is mainly caused by biseasonal rainfall. Cool. We got a lot of cool stuff in North America.
Yeah, we
take
do.
It's just we don't think about it because we live here. We think it's
big.
everywhere else. Yes. Yeah. Oh God, you did this on purpose.
I did.
I'm going to look at it for a second. The Drosophila metleri. Do you know what it is?
No, I mean, I know what it is. I don't know how to say it.
Drosophila metleri, better known as the Sonoran Desert fly. That's what we should have led with. I'm throwing this one in here too, just for fun.
Drosophila metleri.
Drosophila metleri.
Yeah.
Better known as the Sonoran Desert fly, actually managed to find a way to survive the Sonoran Desert using rotting cacti. Its ability to detoxify the liquid spilled by rotting cacti and uses the soil to breed.
So it's actually, I mean, it's kind of interesting. This fly can only live in this part of the world because it has to have the special kind of chemicals that come from that specific rotting cactus.
That's crazy.
And
there's probably some other bird or something that relies on that thing, to stay alive, and then something else eats that bird, and all for an area that's pretty much uninhabitable unless you have all these very special traits.
Yeah.
Alongside the oasis in the Colorado Desert, one of the sections of the Sonoran Desert grows the only native palm in California. This palm is called California fan palm, or the Washingtonia filifera, and grows up to 15 to 20 meters, or 49 to 66 feet tall, and 3 to 6 meters, or 10 to 20 feet wide. We're introducing meters for our foreign audience.
Yes.
You can be fined $10,000 for transplanting that tree. I'm not going to say saguaro without a proper license. Arizona's protected plants law. The Sonoran Desert receives more rainfall than any other desert. It receives approximately 10 inches a year on average due to its proximity to the ocean. The eastern part of the Sonoran Desert, the Baja area, receives 10 to 12 inches. That's really cool. I didn't know all those things about the desert there.
You don't even think about the Sonoran Desert.
I don't. I don't think about a lot of deserts.
I guess,
I think about the African one because it used to be a tropical rainforest way back. So that's always cool to me. Climate. So Sonoran Desert is an arid subtropical climate, as you could have guessed. But interspersed between the Mojave and the Chihuahuan, this is another one,
People that hate our pronunciation are really going to have a hard time with this episode.
We have
to put a trigger warning at the beginning.
I don't care. I always say that, but I laugh.
Chihuahuan.
Chihuahua.
I know.
Chihuahuan.
I know. And I'm so bad at it because I'm trying to think and talk, and I'm not smart enough to do both. The Sonoran Desert receives the frequent low-intensity winters in December, January rains of the former, as well as the violent summer of July and August, or monsoon thunderstorms of the latter. Winter precipitation occurs when a low-pressure trough develops over the western United States, pushing the prevailing Pacific storm tracks south over the Sonoran Desert. Annual precipitation in the Sonoran Desert averages from 76 to 500 millimeters, or 3 to 20 inches, depending on the location, with substantial inter- and intra-annual variability in timing and quantity. Precipitation is typically much higher with elevation due to the orographic effects of the sky islands, with sizable portions occurring at snowfall. Interesting.
I put this in here just so people know. I didn't know what it was.
What the orographic effect is? The orographic effect creates deserts by ensuring that the leeward slopes of a mountain range always experience very little precipitation. The orographic effect is the phenomenon in which mountain ranges force an air mass to gain altitude. So I always thought that was rain shadow. Is that just like the official word for rain shadow?
I don't know, but basically it just forces warmer, moist air higher in elevation, and it gets colder and causes rain.
It shoots the clouds up so they can't go across and drop water. They just drop on the top of the mountain and they're out of water.
Yep.
So the Sonoran is a hot desert. Summer air temperatures routinely exceed 40 degrees Celsius or 104 degrees Fahrenheit and often reach 118 degrees Fahrenheit or 48 degrees Celsius. These high near-surface temperatures interact with cool, moist air in the atmosphere to produce violent thunderstorms of the summer monsoons. As moisture on the soil surface and near surface air evaporate following a storm, temperatures may drop to 50 degrees or 10 degrees Celsius.
This is crazy. I didn't know this.
That's cold.
50 degrees Fahrenheit in minutes.
Yeah, that's a 50% reduction swing in minutes. That's insane.
You would feel like that would feel really weird.
Yeah.
That
would. Yes, it would. Yeah. Winter temperatures are mild, with valley bottoms typically free of frost, while the surrounding mountains may have dense snow cover at higher elevations. In north and east aspects, during any season, diurnal swings of 15 degrees Celsius or 59 degrees Fahrenheit are more are common, as a dry atmosphere and relatively low vegetation cover facilitate re-radiation of daytime heat into the atmosphere overnight. Deserts are cool.
They are cool.
They seem so arid and like pointless.
Yeah.
But like they're like I remember I was watching it was like Earth at Night. It was a Netflix, and they go over like the different ecosystems at night, and the stuff that deserts do when it gets dark out is insane.
Yeah, it is cool. The only hike I've really done in a desert environment was Canyonlands.
Where you almost died.
Where I almost died. But I would love to see like Death Valley.
Yeah.
A lot of these places.
Oh, when we take the show on the road, we'll go.
Yeah.
Terrain. Geography is mostly broad, flat valleys with widely scattered small mountain ranges of mostly barren rock. There is also a sand sea, the Gran Deserto, and the spectacular Pinacate volcanic field. The valleys are dominated by low shrubs, primarily creosote bush. I'm not going to read that.
I'm really hitting you with a lot of
you are.
big
And
words.
the white bursage. These are the two most drought-tolerant plants in North America. Are those the ones that roll, that create the
tumbleweeds?
Tumbleweeds?
I have no clue.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I have no idea. I'm just guessing. The Sonoran Desert is home to numerous biomes you wouldn't expect for a desert: tundra, coniferous forest, temperate, deciduous forest, grasslands, chaparral, desert, thorn scrub, and tropical forest. We've like switched roles here. Normally, you're having trouble with words, and I'm teasing you.
I'm feeling good today.
This is just, you're feeling good. You're like, I loaded it up. You're screwed. So what are the types of dangers outside of just being in the desert? Some of the animals, you have a bark scorpion, bobcats, coyotes, desert tortoise, diamondback rattlesnakes, Gila monsters, mule deer, and the tarantula.
So I sense, I don't have that in. Did I miss putting that in here? I had some, it's down here further. Kind of tips to do if you get bit by a rattlesnake.
All right, we'll get to that one.
Okay, sorry.
Is it suck it out?
Yeah.
That was the old way.
Yeah.
Tips for safely hiking in the Sonoran Desert. Avoid hiking in temps over 89 degrees. So you never want to set on a hike if the temps are already past 90. Above 90 is considered in the danger zone.
You'll start hearing Kenny Loggins.
Dude, you are on point. You beat me to a Kenny Loggins reference. I'm going to pause real quick. I saw a meme that was hilarious. Yeah. And it was the cover of Kenny Loggins' Christmas album called December. And it said, I was really disappointed to see that Kenny Loggins named his album December and not Highway to the Manger Zone. That's pretty good. Solid Christmas Kenny Loggins joke.
That's awesome.
So, all right. Even with the dry weather, it can feel much hotter with the intense sunshine. Most trailheads have temperature gauge, which will let you know the risk level based on the current temps. So, if it's over 89, do not attempt.
Yes.
You want to head out at sunrise. The massive difference between the low and the high temps for the day can vary by as much as 30 degrees. Because of the ground absorbing the sun's heat all day, sunrise hikes are preferable to sunset hikes. It's much, much cooler in the morning hours, not to mention quieter and less crowded as well. Keep it short. First-time desert hikers will want to keep it short. This also goes for anyone hiking during the hot summer season. With the intense sunshine, heat, dry conditions, uneven rocks, landscapes, a desert hike can feel much longer. You're going to want to bring lots of water for very obvious reasons.
Yep.
And you also want to bring some salty food or snacks. It's important you eat more salty snacks to restore electrolytes, especially if you're drinking extra water. Because if you don't have electrolytes, the water won't absorb into your body. Or you can bring electrolyte-infused water.
Yeah.
If you're rich. You can buy specialty energy cubes at all sports stores that simply pack your own. Trail mix, pretzels, crackers, peanut butter packets, a few recommendations and choice. For longer hikes, you want to carry an electrolyte replacement drink or energy bar. Now, what to do if you see a rattlesnake? If you're our buddy Ben, you jump 15 feet in the air and have a vertical that beats most NBA players due to adrenaline.
Yes.
When you see it. But the best way to avoid getting bit is to watch where you put your feet, so you don't have to jump at a 5-foot vertical away from it. That's how people get bit, by putting their hands and feet in a place without looking first.
Yeah, that's the easiest way to prevent a rattlesnake bite is just do what we've always kind of said, be aware of your surroundings when you're hiking.
They're usually just sunning themselves and chilling.
Yeah, and their colors kind of blend in with the ground, so it might not be obvious that there's a rattlesnake near where you're standing. So
you'll find out if you get it wrong.
Yeah.
If you do get bit, so if you do get it wrong, realize that you have lots of time and the bite is very rarely fatal. This is news to me. It's a serious thing and you need to seek immediate medical attention, but you don't want to run. You don't want to get your heart rate up. That makes sense. Just quickly but calmly make your way to the hospital by driving yourself or calling 911 and get yourself to a place where they can monitor you and give you appropriate treatment.
Yeah, so I knew you didn't want to panic and get your heart rate up. I don't remember that I thought it was a little more serious. Obviously, it is serious, but
yeah, I think
it must be a slower reaction than some poison.
Well, and they make little plunger devices that will suck it out.
Yeah,
and from what I remember reading in my manuals, is you can actually take a knife and make 2 small slits over the fang marks with a knife, which won't feel good. But if you can't get to a hospital, and then it will open up the skin more, and then you can place a suction device and pull it out.
Okay.
Because I do know how the snake venom kills you is it clots your blood.
Oh.
So like you can go on YouTube and see it. They'll put snake venom in with blood and it like clots it up immediately.
So I'm assuming
if that clot travels up to your heart, that's how it kills you.
You could also tourniquet yourself to slow it.
100% you can do that.
Cool.
So be aware of scorpions. Scorpions are nocturnal creatures, so you're unlikely to see one on the trail unless you are hiking at night. If you do come across one, do keep your distance. I've been stung by a scorpion. It sucks. It's like 10 bees stinging in the same spot.
I bet.
Wear the right type of clothing, closed-toe hiking and athletic shoes, long-sleeved shirts and long pants in light colors, and wide-brim hat provide the best protection. Now, people never understand this.
Yeah.
You do not want your skin exposed. It burns, and when your skin burns, it releases more water than sweating.
Yeah.
So if your skin's exposed to the sun, even if it's not burning yet, you release more water than sweating when it's covered.
And have you ever tried hiking when you're sunburned, or trying to sleep in a crappy tent when you're sunburned?
With sand
in the sheets, and it's hot. It's not
like,
fun.
Yeah, you want sunburn back and then sleep on sandpaper?
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen if you don't dress appropriately. So there you go. Let's learn about Dan.
We're learning about, our subject of this case is Daniel Robinson. He was 24 years old. He went missing on June 23rd of 2023. He was a male, African-American.
21.
Oh,
June 23 hasn't happened yet.
Sorry. He was
predicting missing people.
He went missing on June 23 of 2021. He was 5'8", 165 pounds. He has brown eyes, black hair. He grew up in Columbia, South Carolina. We don't know. He didn't really have any gear on him because he wasn't out hiking. He was actually on the job. So safe to assume, unless he had something in his car, he didn't have any survival gear with him. Family and friends said he was a keen outdoorsman, musician, and traveler who was always close with his family and remained in constant contact with his parents and siblings. He did have, I guess you could call this a medical issue. Part of his right forearm and hand were missing as a result of a birth defect. So,
yeah, but it's not new. So he'd probably like,
no,
he probably lived with it just fine.
Born with it. That's their reality. He didn't know what it was like with two hands. So I'm sure he probably functioned just fine.
Yeah. If it was like a recent injury or something, then it would maybe be of note.
So he graduated from College of Charleston in 2019 with a major in archaeology. He then attended a course in Tucson and soon after was offered a job by the engineering firm Matrix New World. And that's where he ended up, he was, I guess his title was geologist, and he was working on a well, which I'm assuming is a water well. Though I don't know. I don't think there's oil in that part of Arizona, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, if they're by the city, I'm guessing it was working in the well.
So we'll jump right into timeline. That is kind of just a little quick description of Daniel himself. So it's June 23rd, 2021, around between 9:15 and 9:30 a.m. Daniel Robinson and his coworker, Ken Elliott, who was a pump technician, were assessing a remote drill site in the Sonoran Desert west of Phoenix. It was kind of located near the town of Buckeye, Arizona.
Yeah, I got that pulled up.
Which Joe has pulled up for anyone watching this on YouTube. This was only his second day on the job. Ken would go on to describe to authorities that Daniel was initially fine as they discussed things like the weather and the job. Ken Elliott went on to say that it was an abnormally cool day for the area, and Ken had never met Robinson before, and they were to work on a deep well. But within a short period, Robinson became distracted. Elliott went on to quote, "He was just looking off into the desert. He had a very, very distant look in his eyes. Whenever he'd turn around again, I would look at him and look into his eyes. The first thing I thought was maybe it was drugs or something, but his pupils weren't dilated. From that standpoint, everything appeared to be normal. Then I thought this was a medical condition or something. I wasn't too sure. I kept watching him, but he just kept turning around and looking off into the desert. Then he just turned around and walked back over to his Jeep. And I just assumed he was going to get something out of his vehicle. And he opened the door, got in, sat down, put on his seatbelt, then looked at me and just waved, backed up, and took off. At that point, Robinson drove off in his blue Jeep Renegade. Elliott told his coworkers by phone what had happened, and assuming that Daniel wasn't feeling well and would call in sick. However, no one heard from Daniel after that. He was reported missing to the Buckeye Police Department the same day. Elliott later followed Daniel's Jeep tracks in the rain-soaked dirt around... Let me start that over. I'm having trouble now.
It has been like a month since we've done this.
Yes.
We're always a little off.
Elliott later followed Daniel's Jeep tire tracks in the rain-soaked dirt road and found that instead of going left at a T-junction to Phoenix, he actually went right deeper into the Sonoran Desert. So first problem, Phoenix is not that far away from where, I mean, they're in a remote area, but, you know, one direction takes you to a huge city and the other direction just off into nothing. There's literally nothing the other direction. So the search and rescue operation kicked off pretty quick in this case. It was led by the Buckeye Police Department. They had a lot of different assets at their disposal. They were using UTVs, cadaver dogs, searchers on foot, and drones flying overhead, along with assistance in the air from the Phoenix Firebird helicopters and the Civil Air Patrol. But the Civil Air Patrol actually didn't check in until later in the search.
Okay.
And I think Joe will show some pictures that we have of the search and of Daniel himself. So it is now June 24th of 2021. Tempe police were dispatched to check Robinson's apartment on June 24th, but they actually never went inside. So the search continued for several weeks. Family members traveled from the East Coast to Arizona to join the search, which at this point had covered an area of 70 square miles. So
It's just nothing.
yeah.
They're like, look at this map. It's like, okay, I don't know where that is.
So, I mean, that looks like, I think it's got the roads named. That might be the...
West Cactus Road.
Yeah.
All right, let's see if I can find West Cactus Road.
So your original map that you had pulled up, you had the junction of the Parkway and West Cactus Road.
Yeah.
So...
Nope, it's not that one.
No, that zoomed in the Buckeye. It's kind of north of Buckeye. So I think I see what it... So one of the roads has to be the Parkway. What's that?
That's what, yeah. Valley Parkway, Sun Valley Parkway.
Yeah. So that where that road intersects with the other road is kind of where they were. So
there we go. Sun Valley Parkway, Buckeye, Arizona. That's a good start. Oh, yeah, it's way over. There we go.
There we
That
go.
makes more sense.
Yep. But yeah, it's desolate.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. There's
Are
nothing
those
out
train
there.
tracks, or is that no? That's
That's the
freeway.
parkway.
Okay, this is just like a dirt road that goes parallel.
So
Wow, that is a whole lot of nothing.
whole lot of nothing. And so, like I said, family members were flying out from the East Coast, and the search area now was up to 70 square miles. Detectives did say they had obtained a ping from Daniel's phone, but were unable to track it due to the phone being off or out of range. So the law enforcement actually was able to get a warrant to get phone records, and they learned that he had not...
It's right here.
Okay.
That's a substation. So they last saw him on the road, and the job site was up here.
Yeah.
Right here.
So, yeah, very remote. And we actually have a video of a gentleman from Web Sleuths who actually went out here and recorded.
Yeah, there it is.
Oh, is that the well?
This is the job site, yeah.
So, yeah, we have a video. We'll just kind of play in the background of kind of the area to give you a sense of how desolate and remote this area is.
Yeah. Oh, no, this is it. Sorry.
Oh, is that the pumping
That's
station?
the pump, yeah.
Or the drill site?
Yep.
So like I said, police were able to obtain call records for Daniel, and they learned that he had not made any calls or texts after leaving the job site. Detectives, along with Daniel's family, worked to obtain phone and financial information, but did not locate any information which would aid in locating him. What map you got up here? This might just be a search grid.
Is it? Yeah, it's a search grid zoomed out.
Yeah.
That was the job site.
From
So
Buckeye Police.
Yeah. So this is just farther out.
It's just a grid map.
Yep. Of like this view right here.
Yeah. So
God, that search would have been terrible.
Yeah. So like I said, they didn't find any financial information or any phone records from his personal or work phone since his disappearance. His family and friends and coworkers said that in the days prior to his disappearance, he was not like himself, but said there is no indication that he wished harm to himself or wanted to leave the area. Several mine shafts were actually searched in the area too, but there was no sign of Daniel. And we had some pictures. The police department posted a few pictures of the mine search. I think if you go out one folder.
Okay. Mine shaft search. You did a great job labeling.
Yeah. So.
Oh yeah, he's looking in the mine shaft.
Yep, looking in the.
There he is.
So there you go. Probably some kind of camera on the end of that string. So.
Yep.
But yeah, so they searched mine shafts and obviously didn't find anything. We have a press release from the Buckeye Police Department. Buckeye Police conducted targeted searches this week in an effort to locate Daniel Robinson, who has been missing since June 23rd. These searches took place in the desert area where Daniel's vehicle was recovered. We didn't get to that yet. Investigators focused on locations where volunteer search crews reported their tracking dogs had previously alerted. Buckeyes PD did follow up with searches, and they found no evidence of Daniel. Today, investigators used a robot equipped with a camera to search 2 mine shafts, one of them more than 75 feet deep. They also found no sign of Daniel. So kind of interesting. They were using some kind of robot to search the mine shaft. So now it is July 7th of 2021, and police actually finally entered Robinson's home roughly 2 weeks after he was reported missing, and didn't find any evidence leading to them to. They didn't find any evidence to his whereabouts, so nothing out of the ordinary.
Oh, they're like still thinking maybe he's not in it. Like maybe he just left and went home and didn't tell anybody. And
yeah, at this point, his car had not been found yet, so they really had no theories.
Oh,
other
they
than
thought like, all right, maybe he just drove off a weird way and he got home.
So, this is also around the time when the Civil Air Patrol, which
that's a weird SAR situation where they're not even sure if the person's actually missing.
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough. I mean, he drove down a dirt road into a desert, like in the conditions were pretty wet, so tracks probably weren't preserved. I mean, what do you do? Like,
yeah,
I give them credit for the size of the search with the limited information that they had. So, Oh, now you're pulling up stuff for the
all right,
vehicle.
all right. I'll wait.
So
I'll wait.
It is now July 19th of 2021. So almost a month after Daniel disappeared, a rancher by the name of Brandon Shelton found his 2017 Jeep Renegade with the license plate NLA2CMA in a ravine. It was just 4 miles from the work site where he was last seen, but Daniel was not at the scene. The Jeep had landed on its side with significant damage. Police said the seatbelt had been worn at the time, and the airbags were found deployed. One of Robinson's size 11.5 Red Wing work boots was stuck under the truck. Shelton, whose cattle graze 14,000 acres in the Buckeye area, is convinced the car had only been in the ravine that leads to the river on his property a short while when he came across it, saying, "It was clean and my cows would have found it. Cows are inquisitive creatures and would have licked it." So he thinks it was relatively clean, but the family actually hired a private investigator, and they went into the black box of the Jeep, and it doesn't seem like the Jeep had been...
Wait, there's a black box in Jeeps?
There's a black box in all cars.
Really?
Pretty sure, yeah. I can tell you,
Or is it like just the car's computer?
Well, it's not like a black box in an airplane.
Okay, that's what you made me think. I'm like,
it's not like recording conversations in the cabin of the car, but
it's like what radio stations you've been listening to.
It records the time of an accident.
Okay,
things like that.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
that's kind of cool and creepy.
Yeah. I'm probably wrong on it. I thought almost all cars.
You keep talking.
Cars,
I'll look it up and
okay.
I'll correct you so other people.
So, like we said, the rancher thinks the Jeep was there, pretty recently, but I have my doubts about when the Jeep got there just based on what the private investigator found. But the Jeep was found in an area that had already been searched, with police saying because of the rough terrain, the vehicle was not clearly visible to crews searching by air and foot. The vehicle contained Robinson's clothes, phone, wallet, keys, and a bottle of water, T-shirt, jeans turned inside out, shorts, orange work vest, boots, and 2 mismatched black socks were all located. One of the socks was a Nike and the other was an Adidas. According to police, this is strange. The cell phone was missing a memory card and wiped clean. However, police were reportedly able to still download some files from the phone, which showed he was texting a girl and showed up at her home. And I actually have more information on that as well coming up. So here's a little more detail from...
Real quick, you are correct. Car black box collects driving information before, during, and after collision. There you go. The device's formal name is the Event Data Recorder.
There we go. I thought...
It's speed, acceleration, braking, steering, and airbag activation are recorded.
Yeah, it's not like continuously recording.
Yeah, it says it does like 20 seconds before an accident. So it's probably a rolling record.
Yeah, so it has...
It's deleting constantly until a thing happens.
Any given point, it has 20 seconds of data. And then if an accident happens, then it starts recording.
Yeah. So it said they can generally record up to only 3 events before older events automatically erase themselves.
Cool.
So, neat.
So
I didn't know about that.
The more you know.
Oh, and you can remove them legally.
Oh, you
There's
can?
no law that says you can't. So if you don't want that in your car, look up how to remove it, and it won't affect your car's driving, according to the website I looked up.
All right. So we do actually have the police report for this disappearance, and we've got some more detailed information on the condition of the vehicle.
Do you notice how I thought like finding a car in the desert would be easy? Look at that. That's the car.
Zoom in on that.
That's the car.
That's
as far as let me zoom. That would be incredibly hard to see from the air.
Yeah, and someone on Web Sleuths said that the law in Arizona, and this may be in everywhere in the U.S., but specifically in this area, is the search helicopters were not allowed to go below 500 feet. So
it probably messes with the ecosystem.
I don't know if it might just be a law that they can't fly that low. So
that's my guess is because it'll like rip up shrubs and stuff.
Or all the sand. But
yeah,
for whatever reason, we don't know why they can't go below 500 feet. And I'm not 100% positive on that law. Maybe Joe can look that up while I'm
looking
talking.
it up.
But if that is true, that would make a lot of sense why they may have missed this. Because that picture you showed, that
was lower than 500 feet. So that was probably like a drone shot from the cops.
I've been looking at that picture all day and didn't know the car was in it.
Well, Mike, It literally has a big red arrow pointing.
Go back to the other one. So yeah,
See that giant red arrow pointing to where the car is in the ravine?
I don't know what I was thinking. But
Oh, this could be 500 feet, and then it's zoomed in like a camera.
yeah.
So let's guess real quick why they can't.
I'm going to go with it just kicks up too much sand.
And you think it would like go into the rotors and actually...
Yeah, or it obscure the pilot's ability to fly it.
Okay.
Is it a real law?
I'm not there yet. I'm just saying let's guess before we go.
So while Joe's looking that up, I will give a more detailed description of the vehicle per the police report. So the vehicle was facing northwest. The vehicle had significant damage and appeared to have had a front impact with the dirt and rolled before resting on the passenger side. One piece of the Jeep's black removable roof was on the ground, partially wedged under the front of the Jeep. The driver's front window was shattered, and the police detective writing this report, located glass on the ground consistent with the Jeep rolling one time. There was also substantial damage to the lower front end and damage to the top of the windshield and roof. After some further investigation, detectives believe that Daniel's vehicle left the dirt roadway where it ended south of his job site near an open dirt area and proceeded up the hillside. It appeared that he drove over several bushes before ending up in the ravine. The vehicle was still in drive when it was found. I observed a pair of jeans inside out, 2 brown work-type boots, a faded orange vest with the company logo, a T-shirt, and 2 socks which were inside out. I could see the outline of what appeared to be a wallet in the pocket of the jeans. I walked the same path to the vehicle which redacted had walked and did not observe any person inside the vehicle. It was relatively clean. The outside, clean on the outside, but there had been 3 or more big rains in the area since Daniel went missing. There was evidence of rain damage on the inside of the Jeep, and a hard hat inside was filled with rainwater. I located Daniel's Samsung Galaxy S10 cell phone, the vehicle, and apartment keys, and a backpack with Daniel's work laptop and other documents inside. There were also other miscellaneous items inside the car, like clothing, a basketball, unopened water bottles, and other items. I did not observe any blood or other evidence of an injury despite the substantial damage to the vehicle. I checked the area and did not observe any indication that Daniel spent a considerable amount of time at the vehicle. There were no empty water bottles or other items other than Daniel's clothing in the area. There were no tracks immediately surrounding the vehicle that weren't made by the caller or detectives. So, the ravine was searched on the ground by foot and in the air by the Department of Public Safety Ranger helicopter, but they found no trace of Robinson. And like the police report said, there was no blood found in the car, and there was no indication of foul play. So very strange circumstance with the car. So how's the hunt going for...
I am deep into some DHS.gov laws about Sonoran pronghorn.
Yeah.
But I don't know if there's a law yet.
Okay, well...
But they said engine failure can occur if dust and sand get kicked up in the engine, so it might just be less of a law and more like it's very dangerous to fly a helicopter at low altitudes in the desert because it can suck up into the engines and you get engine failure.
Yeah. So either way, I heard that on the Web Sleuths forum. A lot of times it's a great tool to find. A lot of people post news articles and police reports and things. So whether this gentleman who said that it's true or not, but it does make sense in a very sandy, dusty environment that you wouldn't want to fly too low because, well, and the other thing, I'm thinking of is if you're kicking up all that dust and dirt, you're not going to be able to see what you're searching for.
Yeah, you cover tracks and things like that.
So you probably want to be high enough that you don't disturb the ground because that would hamper your ability to conduct the search. So
yeah.
All right, so fast forward now to July 31st. Oh, Joe, do you want to play a little snippet of that video?
Yeah.
And then we'll just let it run in the background.
We'll hear some audio in the beginning. But this guy went to all the sites, the job site where he was last seen, and then where the crash was.
My name is Jeff Brunton. I go by JJ Ray on Web Sleuths and just Jeff AZ on IG and Pixels.com. I thought after so many months of working on a Daniel Robinson case, I would come out and show everybody pretty much the main sites and the key points. Right now I'm at Cactus and Sun Valley Parkway, and I'm facing west, and you can kind of see just pretty much the general terrain, a lot of creosote bushes, small mesquites up in this area. They get larger further down toward the Hacienda. I'm panning south now, and basically about 5 miles south from here is Tarteso subdivision. And if we keep panning and we go to the southeast and we face east, these are the White Tank Mountains. It's the most predominant feature closest to the work site, the well site, and to the wreck site. Further north, to the northeast we're facing is Festival, development by Del Webb. Directly north, you're going to find a CAP, Central Arizona Pumping Station.
Like the wreck site was the other side of the freeway.
About 4 or 5 miles.
You would pass over the freeway.
Yeah.
We've got some Luke Air Force.
So I'm going to turn the volume off. We can keep going
right
because he's just going to over-explain the whole area. But
yeah,
for those of you just listening, he's just spinning around in a circle at that road, Cactus Road, where he mentioned off the freeway.
Intersection.
And you heard there's some traffic, so it's not like it's in the middle of nowhere.
This isn't where the site
he was like a mile
though.
south or something like that.
Yeah, so the site, you looked it up, is more remote.
Yeah, you have to get off the beaten path, but it's not like it's weird because they're out in the middle of nowhere, but like there's a highway.
Yeah.
Right, within a couple miles, and he's in a car, so it's not like he drove 20 miles on a dirt road to the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
It's, only several miles off, and I mean, there's decent traffic when he was filming this video. So it's kind of weird. It's like in between, I don't know.
It's desolate, but
it's very desolate.
A highway that you can get out of there.
Yeah, like getting lost would be hard in a car if you're on the roads. It seems like. This is my opinion, but based on looking at this, it's desolate, but there's dirt roads and tire tracks. I mean,
you could get lost if you drove down some of these dirt roads. They probably go for dozens of miles.
Yeah.
And you don't know where you're going, but I agree. I mean, and that's why it's puzzling because Daniel didn't drive towards Phoenix. He drove west deeper into the desert. So I'm going to go on with the timeline here. So like I said, we're fast forwarding to July 31st of 2021, and a human skull was found, actually. But they did further testing and determined that it was not Daniel's, and the identity of whoever's skull it was still remains unknown. So they found another missing person, potentially.
This is like the third or fourth episode where they went searching for one person, just found other people.
Yeah, it's a little spooky.
Yeah.
So around the end of July of 2021, the family hired a private investigator. His name was Jim McGrath. He was a former police officer who specialized in accident investigations. Based on GPS data, he discovered that the Jeep had gotten into multiple accidents after Daniel's disappearance, but before it fell down the ravine. Evidence from the vehicle showed that it crashed, the airbags were deployed, then it drove another 11 miles and was involved in another crash. The first collision was 4 hours after Daniel went missing, while there was also some paint transfer from the vehicle. After the first accident, though, it's unknown where the vehicle was taken next. McGrath said that the airbags were deployed. The ignition was turned on at least 46 more times during the extra 11 miles driven. So very erratic behavior, in a car. So to recap that, they discovered that it got into multiple accidents before it ended up in the ravine, and it drove.
I wonder what the sensitivity is, because if he was off-roading,
I don't know.
were they recorded as accidents, but it was just.
I would imagine they've probably engineered it to be.
I really wish I still had my Jeep.
Yeah.
Because after I jumped it off that jump, I'd love to see if that was recorded as an accident.
Right.
Because everything in the car hit the ceiling.
My guess is there's sensors throughout the car that have to record some kind of collision. But like we said, it was then driven for another 11 miles and involved in another crash. And the first collision, like I said, it only happened 4 hours after Daniel went missing. So something strange happened. It is now... Oh, so that is kind of the end of the timeline. His remains haven't been found, and very strange circumstances around his Jeep being found. And then, like we said, January 7th of 2023, just a few days ago, we're recording this on January 10th of 2023, human remains were found by a Facebook user named Penny Buffington. I put the picture in the drive, but I wouldn't show it right now. A lot of people online, some of the news organizations showed it, and people got pretty upset.
It's not even related to the case.
Yeah.
I mean, like technically, if they already determined it's not him.
Yeah.
So
I would say
we don't have to.
You know, it's somebody's parent or brother or sister. We're not going to show it. I mean, if you really want to go see it, it's some of the major news channels out of Arizona have it on their website. So
yeah.
You can do that on your own time if you so choose. The father has come out and said that these aren't Daniel's remains. And I believe he's not basing this on probably DNA evidence yet because there's no way that's been conducted. Based on what was found in Daniel's car, it sounds like he stripped his clothing off. And it sounds like the remains that were just found had clothing either on the remains or around where the bones were found.
Yeah.
So,
I'll back up on that. There's a nice still of the. I'll let it play through.
So, we will find out at some point. They'll get those bones analyzed, and we'll know.
Yeah, we can do an update.
So we'll update everyone. So, before Joe and I get into theories, oh yeah. So
that's a
major
quite
damage.
A roll.
And you can clearly see that it got into accidents before going into that ravine.
Unless it was rolling.
Well, the black box said it got into multiple accidents.
Well,
before.
that's where I'm wondering. So I'm gonna do just because this is funny. Here is.
Oh.
So is that an accident? Hold on, let's get audio. Let me restart. How do I restart it? Here we go. Ready? Because you can hear it.
Oh my God.
It slammed down and everything. Like
God.
I was worried stuff broke in it. I'm wondering if that would record as an accident because I got quite a bit of air on that.
Your
jump.
airbags didn't deploy. I feel like
good point. If that was like the precursor,
yeah,
for it to work.
So,
I just wanted to show that video. I just love. I want like 20,000 people to know I did that in a Jeep. That's really why.
Yeah. You owned it. Wink, wink.
Yes. You're not supposed to say the wink, wink.
So, investigators believe something triggered Robinson to go into the desert where he stripped off and wandered away from his car. But Jeff McGrath said that theory made no sense. He goes on to quote, "If you're delirious and ripped off all your clothes and wandered into the desert, you wouldn't stick one of your shoes under the car. My personal theory is that someone deliberately wrecked that vehicle out there." McGrath believes Robinson was upset about the rejection of a woman and went on an all-night video game binge. So the Buckeye Police report.
What's the basis for that?
Well, I'm getting to it.
Okay, I was like, that's a very specific thing to say, and I haven't heard anything so far that would back that up.
A Buckeye Police report states that Daniel met a woman named Caitlin while he was making deliveries for Instacart and dropped off an order for her home. Caitlin said she and her friend were drunk and they invited Robinson inside, and they later exchanged numbers. Within a week, he arrived at her house unannounced and began sending her texts saying, "I couldn't stop thinking about you and I love you." She tried to rebuff him by saying, "Honestly, you showing up at my house unannounced made me extremely uncomfortable. I don't see us hanging out anytime soon." The next day, he turned up at her house again. He wrote, "Do you hate me?" Daniel replied, I don't hate you, but please leave me alone." That's Caitlin replied in a text. He took 15 hours to respond with his final text to her. 18 hours after that final text, he disappeared. McGrath said of the events after he drove off, "At that point, I think somebody, not a good person, found him. I can't imagine what they did with him, but I believe his vehicle was crashed a couple of times, and then its final rest was at the bottom of the ravine. McGrath found another black Nike sock 3 miles away in the desert. He cannot explain it, but it is another reason he believes there is more to this case than meets the eye." McGrath and Daniel's family believe the Buckeye police did not carry out a thorough investigation into Robinson's mysterious disappearance. They pointed out that Daniel's clothes, possessions, and car were handed over to his father as soon as he arrived in Arizona. However, Robinson's brother, Roger, believes police are doing what they can to find him now, but he fears it's too little, too late. Had they been quick about it in the beginning, we wouldn't be here 3 months later still searching for my brother and still looking for answers. So that is the case of Daniel Robinson.
Okay.
So what do you think happened?
This is making me remember of the last time we had someone just run off into the desert. Terrence.
Yeah.
That was north though, wasn't that? Isn't that Washington State?
Wyoming.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
he was
up
on
there.
the set for a Discovery Channel show.
Okay, so I'm trying to think of some reasonable theories and then some off the deep end theories.
Yeah.
Reasonable theory. Where did it say he grew up?
Columbia, South Carolina.
So reasonable theory. He's working in the desert.
This is only his second day, though.
Only his second day, but he went out, met a girl apparently in the area.
Well,
was he out drinking?
Met is a...
Okay, but regardless, he was
Yeah.
out partying, maybe drinking. Not saying that's a bad thing, but imagine being hungover and working in the desert.
Yeah. Would be fun.
It wouldn't be fun. It could make you delirious. It could make you make stupid decisions. So he,
But it was an unseasonably cool day as far as deserts
what's
go.
unseasonable? Yeah, as far as deserts go.
Yeah.
And if he's like in the throes of some heartbreak because he wants to meet this girl and she's rejecting him, like you combined all that stuff, and I think it's hard for, I'll say us to realize, because I don't think we've ever overreacted to a girl before.
Yeah.
I knew you through college. We never had, but like, in college when you'd meet the dudes who would fall apart over a girl, like would literally like go a little crazy.
Well, look at throughout history, like
in general, but I'm just saying like young men
have started wars over women.
Yes.
I mean,
but I'm just saying like we've all known dudes who've like
Yes.
kind of lost it temporarily for a few days. So if he's in the middle of this getting rejected, not feeling secure, maybe hungover, and again, this is all speculation.
Yeah.
I'm making stuff up here because I'm just trying to make sense
maybe
of this.
he had an undiagnosed psychological issue that no one knew about.
He's under stress, working in hot conditions, and just maybe he's like, I'm going to go for a drive, and I tell him maybe he's completely delirious and goes and just drives off, and he's smashing around in the desert, like just kind of driving violently.
Maybe he just got angry and he just like went 100 miles an hour down a dirt road and like lost it.
Yeah,
And
I think that's...
It doesn't explain the multiple crashes.
It doesn't explain the multiple crashes or where he went.
Yeah.
Or did he crash? Well, actually, they kind of does, because if he crashed like that, looking at the car, I'm not sharing my screen anymore, so I'll pull that back up. I mean, it's wedged in there pretty crazily. So if he just climbed out of there, maybe he was hot and he's like, I'm going to take my clothes off and go wander off into the desert.
Well, maybe he was dehydrated at this point and was starting to not think clearly.
He's making bad decisions, and he's like...
The fact that he found his sock 3 miles away from the crash site leads me to think he...
And do they know it was his, though?
No.
See, that's where... Yeah.
But it was a Nike sock.
It was a Nike sock, and who else was out there in that spot? So it could be. But again, it's just... That to me is like a reasonable explanation what could have happened. That's a lot of what ifs to come together to make that happen.
Yeah.
More off the deep end, I immediately started looking up if there's the vortices in that area.
Oh, no.
Vile vortices.
Yeah, I remember those.
So, like, I know in Sedona, they claim that there's that stuff there. There's the energy that makes you think weird. And I've had friends, I won't say their names because they are normal, I'll say normal people, like not constantly into that type of stuff, that they went to an area in Arizona. I don't remember where.
Yeah.
But they were vacationing there, and they were doing side by side. You know where you do the UTVs and you're driving through the desert and stuff. And they both said when they got to certain areas, they got really angry. Like they were having a great time and they started getting mad, and they were listening to our show and they were listening to one where they started to talk about vile vortices, because they called me like, oh my God, like I don't believe in this stuff, but I was in that area where you guys said there was one, and we felt weird. Yeah. And they were still in the area, and they like locals were like, oh yeah. You know how locals are when there's a cool thing in your area. So again, take that for what you want to take it. To me, that's the off the deep end of he was affected by a vile vortice or something.
I like the off the deep end. For my off the deep end, I'm going to stick with that.
Yeah. Ooh, you're on the off the deep end train.
Yes. I think the more logical thing is, obviously his behavior with this woman he had just met is not normal.
Yeah, she's obviously rebuffing him and he's not getting it.
He's still showing up. Yeah. So obviously he has something going on there. I think, maybe other things in his life were going on at the time that people weren't aware of, and this kind of thing with this woman kind of just finally he snapped, and he left the job site. We don't know what he did before the car crash, but he got into multiple accidents, so he must have been, sometimes if you get delirious with rage, it causes you to not think clearly.
That's where I've never had that happen.
No,
but I've seen it firsthand.
It happens
of people that start doing weird crap, and you're like, oh my God, that's dangerous.
Combine a man's obsession with a woman, which like Joe and I have talked about, we've seen with friends in our lives, but there's ample evidence throughout history of men doing incredibly...
There's a whole different Bible because of that. King James Bible exists because of stupid decisions.
Men throughout the history of time have done incredibly stupid things over women.
The pursuit of women.
And I'm trying to think of the ruler of Rome that basically started a war over Cleopatra.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there's medieval stories. And I won't go into it, but so combine maybe that obsession he had with this woman he just met with just this rage that just came over him, and he would cause you to have impaired driving. So maybe he was just flying down the road, hitting stuff and smashing stuff, and then lost control, went up over this ridge.
And off-roading's fun, so even if he wasn't like...
Yeah.
I mean...
I think what happened is he probably was dehydrated, and he hit a bunch of stuff in his car, lost control, went over this ridge, landed in the ravine, probably hit his head hard enough to cause damage but not draw blood. Like if you hit your head really hard on the steering wheel, you're probably not going to bleed.
Yeah, it rings your bell though.
But probably
throw you off.
If you're already dehydrated and you get a bad concussion, he is probably just in a very delirious state of mind at that point, which would maybe, for some reason, he decided to strip his clothes off and walk into the desert. And my guess is he just kept walking, and they had a lot of heavy rains. Perhaps he walked into an area that, out in the desert when it rains, you can get flash floods like an instant. And maybe his remains were washed away in one of the flash floods.
Yeah, George Land talks about that. He's a PIO of right in the area, Joshua Tree National Park.
So like in a heavy rain, this ravine probably be filled with water. So I think the most logical explanation is he injured his head in this crash, and he was probably already dehydrated. He was filled with rage, just in a delirious state. He walked off into the desert, succumbed to the elements, and then...
I wonder if that delirium would be similar to when you have... what's the cold thing? I am off today. I can't think.
Hypo or hyperthermia?
Hypothermia.
Hypo.
Because I've experienced that firsthand with people I was hiking with. I'm sure I've told this on the show, but I'll repeat it. When I was doing Long's Peak with 3 other guys, I was staying back with one guy to wait for someone who was behind on the trail as a storm hit. Yeah. So because we didn't want to leave them in whiteout conditions, while 2 other guys continued on. So we stayed paired. We followed our rules, and they were going to go set up the camp ahead of us.
Yeah.
And it was raining, like sleeting, so you're getting wet, and it started getting real cold. And when we started coming up around this bend, they're 20 minutes ahead of us.
Yeah.
They were walking back, and they were dressed completely differently. And we literally and these are guys I've known forever. They're great hikers. Yeah. They know what they're doing. And I'm like, where are you guys going? Like, they should have been at camp. And they're like, we're going back to the car because our clothes are wet. we're 5 hours into a hike.
Yeah.
We're nowhere near the car. And what they did was we got them warmed up, and they told us they realized, like, when you're warm up, they're remembering the decisions they were making.
Yeah.
They were soaking wet, and they were at the campsite. Instead of pitching the tent, they took the dry clothes out of their bags in the rain.
Yeah.
Took off their wet clothes and put on their dry clothes, which then got wet.
Yeah.
Instead of setting up the tent. And then because those clothes got wet, they were going to hike out.
Yeah.
It would have been 4 hours.
Yeah, they would have died.
And they would have, yes, they would have gone. And they're like, I don't know why I did that.
Yeah.
Like they've hiked with me a ton of times, and they literally could not make, we are at altitude. They're in hypothermia. They're making horrible decisions. Like we're like, nope, come with me. Like I remember forcing them. They're just kind of like wandering aimlessly.
Yeah. So honestly, I think, I don't know about the foul play thing. I think it's more simple than that. I think it's a combination of he was dehydrated.
I don't think foul play. He's in the middle of nowhere.
Maybe he was, dehydrated in a desert. That's going to dehydrate even more. Mm-hmm. He was clearly in a bad accident, multiple bad accidents.
Yeah.
Probably has a head injury. No blood, so not,
Yeah, they said his seatbelt was on, so even getting hit in the face with the airbags like getting punched.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know that from being a firefighter. He could have
hit
EMT.
the side of his head on the side.
On a rollover.
Yeah.
The contents of your car will do more damage to you than
he could have gotten hit in the head with his laptop, his work laptop.
All the stuff in there becomes violent projectiles.
So just because there's no blood, you can't assume that he didn't suffer a serious head injury. Really bad concussion combined with dehydration would cause him to just be delirious. And I think he walked off into the desert, and then with the heavy rains they were having, his remains were washed out of the search area. They're probably still
I don't even
in
think
this
they have to
region.
wash out. Think of Paul Miller's case.
Or just-
he was found pretty dang close to the trail. Oh, a year, 2 years later almost?
Yeah.
And they searched thoroughly. And it's based on that image from seeing the car from above, it's hard to find stuff.
And I'll just say I did view that image of the skeleton that was found a couple days ago, and to what you're saying, the skeleton was caked in mud. So it looked like it had been
moved.
Not necessarily been moved, but like muddy water had been flowing by it.
Okay.
And you can just imagine if the remains were in a flash flood or had any muddy sand, that would make it even harder for searchers to find the remains.
I turned the screen off, so I'm going to go look
at
it. I'm not sharing it.
Did I put it out? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't open it. Yeah, that's not... Okay.
That would be tough. Definitely hard to see from air.
Oh, 100%.
And you would
I'm zooming out here, and like, if it was the back of it, it would look like a rock.
You would literally have to walk right by it.
You can't tell that is what that is.
Yeah, you would have to walk right by it to see it. And for anyone listening or watching, we're not actually showing the image just out of respect, but I just want to make the point that
that it would be so hard to find.
The difficulty to find remains that have been exposed to rains in this type of a environment would make it really hard. So that's my theory. I do like the off the deep end vial vortices. I've never experienced something like that, but I mean, I've read lots of stories.
I would love to hear the coworker give an interview to get an idea what type of guy he is. Not saying it's his fault.
I'm sure he has.
But the dudes that work in that kind of situation are usually hard dudes.
Yeah.
They're probably like, if he's all like complaining about a girl, whatever, he's like probably not being nice to him.
Yeah.
Maybe he's like, just get back to work. Like, we gotta get this. If he's being like aggressive, maybe that tipped him over the edge. Maybe. Again, not saying it's his fault.
Yeah.
It could have been like all the things, and the straw that broke the camel's back if the guy's kind of not nice to him on the job site. And I'm just thinking, I've worked on job sites with doing concrete and roofs and stuff.
Yeah.
Those guys aren't nice, but that's how they're built.
Yeah.
They'll call you names and crap like, hey, why'd you give me that? Well, you idiot. Like they're just not nice. So if he's like in all these weird states and then there's some dude jeering him a little bit, he's probably like, screw this crap, and drives off.
Yeah. We won't know. But so another puzzling case, but depending on what happens with this new skeleton that was discovered, we may have closure in this case. So
yeah, we'll keep you guys updated with that for sure.
We'll keep you posted.
All right. Well, thanks again for tuning into our show. We appreciate all of you for listening and sharing Locations Unknown with your friends and family. Be sure to like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, where you can find the videos for each of these episodes. Also, if you'd like to support the show monetarily, please visit our website or our Facebook store. and buy some of our cool swag. Additionally, you can subscribe to our Patreon account on YouTube subscriptions and on Apple subscriptions, where you'll have access to special events, additional shows for paid customers only. And lastly, when enjoying the beauty of nature, whether backpacking, camping, or simply taking a walk, always remember to leave no trace. Thanks, and we will see you all next time.